Yeah, those Colossus are going to regenerate their shields. They take some damage and they can walk away and pretty much get close to full health again. I got to take some issue with Servy's tank placement. Two of his tanks up on the ledge, or three of them actually, are sort of out of range, and Socke is actually able to attack the northmost tank, for example, and kind of get away with it. But it looks like Servy is moving some more tanks down the ramp now, so looks like he's trying to remedy this placement of tanks.
A sensor tower now up for ServyOa, so he can kind of gauge what he's dealing with as far as units out there in the ether that he can't really see because of this Colossus pressure, and he's going to see a large mass of blue dots moving its way to right outside his base, and he's got to be sweating a little bit. A lot of siege tanks going on right now. It just looks like just a straight up siege tank factory that he's turned this base into. Another command center currently transforming into an orbital command. Another Hellion run-by attempt there for Servy, but that didn't work out too well. He's going to see with this medevac that Socke has expanded a second time, and so he's got a mind to try to do that as well. And
actually, two Hellions just finished up cleaning Socke's expansion out. Killed a bunch of probes just a moment ago, and actually forced Socke back to his base. And now Socke's going to stand back and prevent or be wary of further Hellion harasses. So it looks like one of his Hellion run-bys actually made it past those Colossi and got in the back there and did some damage.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just kind of linking the last few moments together in my mind. I must have missed it. We both must have missed it, but that medevac must have dropped those two Hellions over by the expansion and had them go to work there, and that must have been where the medevac came from. I was a little surprised that just a lone medevac was being used for scouting, but that must have been what happened. We're sorry we missed it
at all.
Yeah, we're sorry we missed it at home, but that is definitely what happened. ServyOa doing a great little Hellion drop over here at this first expansion for Socke, but Socke doesn't seem that worse for wear. A lot of workers still pumping out minerals, and it looks like ServyOa is going to try to do it again. Medevac dropping over here on this kind of neutral hidden ground, and ServyOa are going to try to go over to the second expansion with a new batch of Hellions, and I'll make sure to catch that this time. Here we go.
ServyOa sure does have a lot of tanks back there, but I guess for now we'll watch this Hellion harass. And I think all 5 of these probes are going to quickly go down. But, there wasn't really much going on at this expansion to Socke's advantage. It was just barely getting up to speed, and the losses were minimized because there weren't many probes actually at work.
Yeah, Servy probably hoping that there was a full complement of probes going to work there on that expansion, but unfortunately there was not that many. And then when the Hellions came back from their light work, they found that the medevac had completely abandoned them and left them for dead, and they were forced to just kind of sit in their little fire trucks and get smoked. But
and any economic advantage by killing those 5 probes was immediately overridden by losing 3 Hellions, which are 2 probes each in terms of cost.
Absolutely, but ServyOa had different plans for that medevac. Looks like 4 Hellions over here going to be dropped down by the main base of Socke. Unfortunately for ServyOa, it's completely mined out. These workers, these couple of workers mining gas here, will go down, and possibly Socke's attentions will be diverted back to his main base, but no mining will be stopped here, and a few Stalkers and an Immortal should be able to take down these Hellions. An excellent unit block there on the choke point by Socke, and these Hellions are not going to be very effective, and that's twice now for ServyOa that's kind of had a bit of a wasted Hellion raid on Socke, and Socke is still in a very strong position as far as income, as far as expansions, as far as units.
Yeah, but I really like the mind game ServyOa is playing here against Socke. Like these Hellions constantly dropping into your base have got to be a very annoying aspect of the game that you don't normally have to deal with, and just pissing off your opponent really goes a long way in Starcraft.
And as you say that, it's happening again. Another Hellion drop, another 2 Hellion drops now, drop down here on the south end where this expansion got hit before.
There's a lot of probes that can be killed here.
There are a lot more probes to be harassed.
But unfortunately, 2 Stalkers waiting at the ramp, expecting this, anticipating the attack, and I'm not sure if any or 1 probe has gone down, but there's not going to be much done here. Oh man.
Yeah, excellent foresight there for Socke, leaving two stalkers behind, and that is really all he needed to take care of those Hellions. The stalkers fast enough to handle it, but now a huge, just brick wall of siege tanks crawling their way across the map, and this is really all going to depend on how quickly he can set these up. And here comes the major clash of this game so far. And
I know this is a ridiculous amount of siege tanks. Let's see what they do in such large numbers.
Yeah, I got to give this advantage to the Protoss. The siege tanks are just kind of, there's nothing running amongst the siege tanks to kind of soak up the fire here. You know, needed some Marauders, needed some Marines, needed some mobile units, and that's exactly what Socke had, the mobility to be able to take out these stationary siege tanks. The Colossi go down, but then the Vikings rendered useless after the Colossi go down. They land to try to exert some authority here over on this expansion, and they're quickly farmed down by this Protoss force.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that those medevacs that were flying around during that battle were actually useless because ServyOa did not have anything but mechanical units.
Nothing to heal, nothing for those medevacs to do. ServyOa continuing the Hellion drops, the Hell drops, but I think they're going to become less and less effective as Socke has enough units to spread about his expansions, and just a few Hellions are just not going to do the job anymore.
I know ServyOa quickly reinforcing his tank ranks back up to 6 tanks outside of his natural expansion, and it looks like this might be enough to actually fend off Socke. A moment ago I was going to say, you know what, this is over, give the game to Socke, but it looks like ServyOa has enough factories, 4 to be exact, to bring out those tanks really quickly and quickly reinforce. And you know, that's one thing that all good Terran players have to do, which is build more factories, build more barracks so you can reinforce very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. In addition to that, he's expanding very aggressively, considering that Socke has taken a bit of map control. But now, within seconds, like you said, his tank ranks get completely reinforced. His expansion's doing well here, trying to get his 3rd expansion up. Of course, this other expansion was temporarily destroyed, but he obviously has the intention of getting that one back. So that would put him at 4 expansions, one more than Socke, and of course this southern expansion not ready to go yet. So economically, ServyOa doing a terrific job.
Yeah, no, and I gotta mention, I've been noticing this earlier, the ServyOa is putting up a lot of missile turrets. I think maybe he's been recently burned by invisible Protoss units or something, but that's not gonna happen this game. Those missile turrets are all over the map. There's no way he's gonna get surprised by Dark Templar here.
Now a few Marines shore up his ranks of siege tanks, but the Marines are quickly going to be burned down by this Colossus. No Vikings now. He's replaced the Vikings with Marines, and of course you more or less need those Vikings to take care of these Colossi. So the Colossi are going to go to town on those small biological units, but the siege tanks are still going to be able to press, as Socke has taken some considerable losses to his units, and he's just not able to reinforce as quickly as he needs to at this point.
Yeah, those one of the strengths of the Colossus is how fast they can move, right? And without those Vikings to close the distance, to put pressure on them, to stop them from being able to escape, that Colossus can just dance all day with any other Terran unit, and he can avoid taking any damage from them. I mean, siege tanks are a little bit of a different story because they have such long range, but those Marines, you know, this Colossus is not going to take any damage from Marines. Servy really needs just a couple Vikings out here, especially now that a few carriers are out on the board for Socke.
Yeah, tech switch by Socke, quick, very effective tech switch here to carriers. And these siege tanks are absolutely defenseless, going to be torn up by all these little stinging batlings that come out of the carriers, and once again these medevacs are rendered completely useless. Just a bunch of observers to the battle.
Medevacs taking a coffee break at the worst possible moment, but luckily the carriers did not decide to attack them. Oh, it looks like one of these medevacs is going to go down, possibly two. Man, they should not have got a coffee break at a particular time of the game as the carriers were approaching. They thought they were safe, but they were wrong.
Yeah, I thought that the life as a medevac pilot was just a little too boring, and they figured they could just sit around, have a powwow, and just kind of chat about battles gone by. But those medevacs suffer the consequences, or at least two of them suffer the consequences. The other three were able to escape back to ServyOa's base. And it's really hard to call at this point. I wish ServyOa would start integrating some Marauders. It would be in his best interest to kind of combat these Archons and Colossi, but like you said, Vikings need to come out, and they need to come out in numbers if this carrier build is going to continue here for Socke, or maybe not Vikings, maybe Thors, and that's what ServyOa is thinking right now. The Thors and the Vikings start to replenish his ranks.
Yeah, both armies nearing on 200 here. Well, they're not nearing as quickly as I would have thought. Servy at about 160, Socke at about 120, a little bit more, and counting, of course. But there's a lot of expansions. There's a lot of buildings all over this map. This game, these players are really taking over the entire map here, and it won't be long before all the minerals are completely gone throughout the entire map.
Absolutely, both these players just demonstrating that you don't need creep to absolutely dominate the map, and both of these players just kind of crawling and creeping their way across the map right now, being very Zerg-like, dominating the environment, and just constant unit replenishment. I mean, if one of these players had not had the terrific macro that they had during this game, then the other one would have just swept completely over them. But both of these players up to the task of losing large amounts of units and just coming right back very, very aggressively. The scan goes down there for ServyOa, and he sees that this expansion is once again doomed. This expansion has come under fire twice now in this game.
Yeah, looks. I just saw the hint of first High Templar on the board for Socke now, and the High Templar attempted to storm a bunch of SCVs, and it didn't seem to work. But Servy's got to be nervous now that more High Templar are going to be coming, and they're going to be put to use as best they can at killing Terrans.
Yeah, up until this point, Socke has been morphing all his High Templar into Archons, thinking that it would be more effective to have Archons against the large siege tank wall, and I more or less agree with him. But if ServyOa does push out with more and more Marines and Vikings and things with energy like medevacs, then feedback and storms become more and more important to Socke, and I like to see Socke keeping some High Templars unmorphed in his ranks, able to do their magical devastation.